Welcome, friends, to Crusade with me, your weekly space for reflection, resolve, and righteous rebellion against the chaos of this world. This episode 74, we're calling this one Training Day, the discipline of the narrow road. If last episode was about discernment cutting through the fog, then today we're talking about what comes next. Discipline, the training, the reps, the fight. Hello, my love.
Hello, my king.
You know,
What?
we're going to talk about discipline today.
We have none.
Not lately. Not lately.
I asked you last night, let's take a walk. No.
Nope.
We're going to take a walk after this.
Yes, we are. Well,
Oh, okay.
we're going to take a little nourishment, then we're going to take a walk. I've been fasting for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, discipline, man, that's a sucky subject. And it's not a sucky subject that sometimes I'm really sucky at it.
Maybe we should have played the Rocky music as our intro.
I don't want to pay
Dun,
for that,
dun,
but
dun,
I
dun,
know
dun,
I don't
dun,
want to pay for
dun.
that, though. I just got through FaceTiming my sweet pea.
Yes. Yep. Had
That
to give
always-
her a little,
Always makes me smile by that girl. She's just...
give her and her horse a little encouragement for their show today.
Yep. So, Jesus said in Matthew 7:14, "But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." So here's the truth. Nobody stumbles down the narrow road, all right? You train for it.
Yep.
So this episode is your spiritual gym session. We'll stretch. We'll sweat. We'll talk about what it really takes to stay on that narrow path. So let's get going. Let's begin with 1 Corinthians 9:25-27. Everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No. I discipline my body and keep it under control. So here Paul isn't talking about earning salvation. I want to be real clear. He's talking about alignment, about making his whole life submit to the will of God. His time, thoughts, impulses, habits, all of it. So let me ask you, what's training you right now? Because you are being trained, either by the world or by the word. And only one of those is going to get you on the path to Eden. Got a concept on this discipline.
Okay.
The life of effortless faith. Keep this in mind. We live in a culture that resists effort, especially spiritual effort. We want spiritual results without spiritual discipline. We want peace without prayer. We want wisdom without reading. We want holiness without the heat of the forge. But listen, even Jesus withdrew to pray. Even he fasted. Even he memorized scripture and spoke it aloud. If the Son of God practiced discipline, what makes us think we can go without it?
So true.
And I want to be clear here. I don't want to mince words. Training is not legalism, right? It's not about earning God's love. It's about being strong enough to carry it. So what does spiritual training actually look like? Let's talk about 3 disciplines, each of the practical steps you can start this week, right? The resistance of saying no as a spiritual exercise, okay? Discipline starts with resistance, not just temptation, but of distraction, the good things that aren't God things. So try this one. The 1 no rule. Each day, practice saying no to one unnecessary indulgence. For my Roman Catholic friends out there. Something that doesn't nourish your spirit. It might be another scroll on your phone, another cookie, another opinion. Train your will. As Paul said, I keep my body under control. Each no is a yes to the narrow road. We got to have structure. Crafting a holy rhythm. You know, life has rhythms. And so should our spiritual life. Morning, noon, and night. So don't let your days happen to you. Arrange them around your soul's needs. So tip number 2 is the rule of 3. Every day, 1 moment of scripture. 1 moment of stillness, and 1 moment of service. Now, this isn't about perfection, it's about rhythm, about coming back again and again to the training grounds. So 1 moment of scripture every day, 1 moment of stillness every day, and 1 moment of service every day. And on training day, there has to be heat. Doing hard things with God. Let's face it, discipline, it's not comfortable. And that's the point, okay? Right? But growth doesn't come through ease. It comes through friction, through choosing the hard on purpose. So here's a weekly challenge. Set aside 1 day a week to push yourself spiritually. Fast a meal. Wake up early and pray. Visit someone hurting. Forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. Mm-hmm. When you choose the hard thing with God, you build strength that lasts. And when you want to quit, and let's be honest, we'll all want to quit. We'll miss a day. We'll slip. But discipline is not being flawless. It's about returning The narrow road is a trail that rewards the persistent, not the perfect. Proverbs 24:16, it is written, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. So rise again. Lace your boots, grab the sword, get back in the fight. And when you feel too weak to try again, remember, God trains those he loves, is recorded in Hebrews 12:6. Your trials are not punishment. They're part of your training. And eventually, you're going to go from effort to joy. At first, discipline feels like a burden, but eventually, it can become your joy, your breath. You start to crave the word. You look forward to prayer. You begin to feel it when you drift. You miss the training ground. And that's when you know the narrow road isn't something you're fighting to stay on. It's something you're choosing with delight. And that's what we're after. That's the return to Eden. What do you think, my queen?
When you were talking about the pick one thing to say no to, I was thinking about say no to something that doesn't edify you.
Correct. Exactly.
And so sometimes that can take shape in many different ways.
Yes.
It can be in the shape of if you're having a very productive, good day, and sometimes it can be a phone call that might take up 2 hours of your time. It's okay to say no to that day. And don't feel guilty about it.
You're so right.
Sometimes it can be a relationship that you just need to take pause from for a while.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you need to set up boundaries in that relationship.
Exactly right.
And sometimes it's not comfortable, and sometimes it's hard.
It takes discipline.
But that all falls under that banner of
correct. Say no.
Yes.
You're right. I love that. And how many times have I said this? I say this all the time. Just because I have a microphone and a Rodecaster Pro 2, whatever that thing is, mixer, doesn't mean that I'm the expert on any of this. I'm not an expert on much of anything. I'm an expert on drinking coffee and oogling you.
Google.
Oogling.
Oogling. I'm like, Googling.
No, oogling
no, but
you.
I obviously just doing this is helping our growth and helping
Absolutely, yes.
And it holds us accountable.
Yes, I hope and pray that somebody out there is getting something out of this. Mm-hmm. And if not, okay. But
as long as
we are. Yes, we are. And I don't mean to be self-centered, but, we are not doing this for financial.
There's none.
There's none.
It's
right?
Costing us in T-shirts because I just had to place
not just T-shirts, but this equipment wasn't cheap. Right. But we do this for us.
Right.
And wanting to share our struggles and our thoughts and our what we have learned with others
Right.
and hope that they can learn and be edified, as the word you used. In my vocation, I would use the word value add. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's an easy way to look at things and understand it. What I'm about to do, or what I'm thinking about right now,
Mm-hmm.
is it a value add to my life, or is it a non-value add? And one thing that we know about lean manufacturing is we do a lot of things in lean manufacturing that are non-value added. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And value added means it is just we're doing something that a customer is willing to pay for,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But in that in the process of manufacturing things, a lot of times we have to do things that the customer is not willing to pay for, but we still have to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want you to be so ensconced in this understanding to believe that, oh, it's non-value add. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to do it. No, there are certain things in our lives, i.e., it's a really good idea to have a full-time job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And work for a living and earn a paycheck so that you can live.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way our society is. Unless you're fully ensconced in this, off the grid living.
Fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, that's cool as all get out, and I would love to try that. I just think I'm too soft for that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew and I had a conversation about, and I think you were part of that conversation, about how, we're talking about walking, right? We're just talking about freaking walking.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to schedule that.
Mm-hmm.
And why do we have to schedule that? That's because our lives are pretty freaking sedentary.
Mm-hmm.
It's been not created. We have created it that way and we like it.
Mm-hmm.
We do. 100 years ago, people didn't schedule walking. They did that
as a necessity.
As a necessity, part of their existence.
Right.
Right. So, we in continuous improvement in lean manufacturing, we talk about 7 deadly wastes. And one of the 7 deadly wastes is always conveyance. So moving material from one spot to another, that's a waste. Well, guess what? We still have to do it.
Right.
It's part of manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have older legacy plants that then you add on or expand and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
You can't reconfigure the entire plant. I mean, I guess technically you could, but there's a cost to that. There's a cost of not only just doing that, but there's also a cost of how long are you not going to be operating? How long are you not going to be producing? All of those things have to be taken into consideration. So do we accept the cost of conveyance as one of the 7 deadly wastes and say, okay, now we just need to minimize this as much as possible? And now in modern technology where you can get into UAVs, maybe I said that wrong. It's they make equipment now that can move from one spot to another without any human intervention. It's almost a robot will take something from one work cell to another, and it works out great in some circumstances, and others it doesn't. Anyway, still a 7 deadly waste. They're just reducing the cost of that waste.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing here. Some things in our lives we just have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Work is one of them. This seems to be foreign to some people.
Yeah.
Just saying. But work is something that we have to do.
Well, society / our government has become enablers to that idea.
I agree. You're right. And there's a we haven't gone down this path, and we have paid our fair share of money toward, and I'm going to talk about taxes, folks. We have paid our fair share of money for professional therapy,
Mm-hmm.
which is an extremely dangerous from our experience, an extremely dangerous path to follow, the 4A. And I'm not talking against therapy. I want to be real clear. I am not. I am genuinely concerned about the quality of therapy that's
Yes.
out there in this world. And what is the true motivation? And you need to really get this. So if you did not listen to the last episode, go back and listen to the episode that dropped on Tuesday about discernment. Because when you apply discernment to seeking out therapy, you're going to get it's going to be way offset. I believe if you truly do that the number of therapists out there that your spirit can tell you discerning is the way to go is going to be extremely, extremely scarce and small compared to the vast majority, which does not seem to align with anything related to being on a narrow road back to Eden.
Right. There are some good ones out there, and
I said scarce and few.
Yep. Thank God we found some.
Yes.
And we found them in the most unique ways.
Well, I truly believe that to be divine. And let's pat ourselves on the back a little bit, because we went outside of what, I mean, depending on people's perspective, there are groups, and I'm not even sure where I fall on this, okay? I'll be clear. And I know I'll probably piss some people off who are listening to this. And I haven't made a complete judgment on it just because I haven't looked at it enough. But who was some of our best therapists?
The Mormon Brothers.
Correct.
Which was privatized. I mean, we just paid them out
directly.
Of our own pockets,
Right.
But we were desperate at the time.
Yes. And so, in case anybody didn't hear that, these guys were from the Church of Latter-day Saints. They were Mormons. There are large groups of people in Christendom, for lack of a better term, and I like using that word Christendom, because now I'm not calling out anybody specifically, but there's large groups in Christendom that will tell you that Mormons are not Christians. And I will tell you the interactions that we had with these gentlemen, young gentlemen, were phenomenal. All right. I have nothing ill to say about them.
Nope.
They did not press their beliefs.
No.
They did not even talk about it. My own curiosity, I forced them. I was the one questioning them, and they would only answer my question, and that was it. They would not expand. They would not.
No.
They certainly were not what do they call it? Apostolating?
Apostle size.
Yeah, something like that, whatever that word is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically talking about because I think when they graduate high school, they have to go into the field, as they call it, and do 2 years of ministry.
Mission trip. Missions. They did, yes.
Yeah.
I think they did that in high school, then they did it again. They both went to BYU.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
But we consider them a blessing in our lives, Matt and Danny. So
I would love to reach out to them and share this podcast with them. I know.
Didn't even know that's been so many years ago. But yeah, I mean, we were I was very leery at the time.
I know.
I mean, we got on a plane, went to Vegas.
Correct.
Because their sister worked at one of the hotels there, and we met them, and I left their names and their numbers that we had. That's all we had at the time, with my best friend, and said, if we don't return at the time that we were supposed to return, call the police.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, this is all I have, and obviously they've killed us. So
Right.
give this information to the police. This is a contact we have, and this is where we're staying.
Mhm.
And yeah, so our first time ever to Vegas was to meet these two young men, and we never left our hotel room with
No.
our. I mean,
Well,
it was the four of us,
we
and us and our
paid
two
we
kids.
paid for their hotel room, we paid for our hotel room, and then we paid for a third hotel room which we used as the
Like meeting,
meeting counseling spot.
right? And
Right.
then and then in like 8 weeks, then we flew them to
Back
our
to
home, and then
correct.
they stayed in
Our
our
house.
home. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, by then we'd already found out they were on the up and up, but
Really on the up and up. Phenomenal. Just phenomenal. All right.
yeah,
And
I mean,
so that's what gives me tremendous pause. I don't know. I could probably need to sort that out, right? I probably need
Yeah.
to discern.
I mean, there are people that are struggling in this way. I mean, I think everyone can agree that there's a mental health crisis in our society, but there's just the scale is so heavily tipped. I mean, there may even have started out being great mental health therapists, but they're so overwhelmed because of the scale is just so.
Well, I would
they're
purport to
overwhelmed.
you, this is my feeling on a couple of things here that you just stated. One is, I think we overuse that term. Well, not mental health, but I think we overuse the term mental illness. We like to claim a lot of things are mental illness, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's freaking life. And I think that's part of the problem. I think let me relate this to, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. This was before we went to Key West. Maybe while we were in Key West, we were visiting with people, and they were actually from Michigan, remember, at the pool. And and somebody else was there from Texas. And so they were talking about, oh, yeah, we never get snow, or we don't see snow. And like, you're going to go to Michigan. And like, well, I work in Michigan every day, and I don't see for like a couple of years now. And I'm like, snow just ain't what it used to be.
All right.
But if you listen to weather channels, everything is a crisis. Everything is a storm, right? Every rain event, it's going to storm. Well, it's called rain. Every time it snows, we have a snowstorm.
A blizzard.
A blizzard. Well, it's snowing. That's what it's, I just, and I relate the same thing to mental health. Everything is a mental health issue or crises and illness. No, I disagree with that. I think it's nature. It's who we are. And a lot of times we use mental health as an excuse to dismiss our behavior because of the lack of discipline and not having discernment to determine what is best and what is good. And it says good. Is it best? There's a difference. And that's why we're doing these episodes. This is hugely important. And as Jamie, one of my old bosses, he used to say, love the guy, he retired. The mental health industry, and let's not get silly and confused, it is an industry. It is like a self-licking ice cream cone, as he would say, which actually, if you break that sentence down, it makes no sense. But it's trying to perpetuate itself, almost like some people, and I might be one of those people. Doctors aren't made working out there to fix and heal people, because guess what? Heal people don't pay bills for doctors. Sick people do. So there's that. Same thing with mental health therapist in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real tangent, but something to keep in mind. And use the sword of the Spirit to help discern and pierce to the truth. But that's not what we're talking about today.
No,
we're talking about discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, say no to something unhelpful, non-value added. All right? Commit to a 3-part daily rhythm. Morning, noon, and night. And take on one hard thing with God. Write them down. Set a reminder. Don't wait until you feel like it. Show up. Train. Build. Thanks for walking with us today on Crusade with me. If this message stirred something in your heart, share it with someone. Don't just let the word stir you, let it train you. Next time, we'll be diving into something equally powerful, the battle within, overcoming the double-minded life. It's about the integral tug of war and how to finally claim spiritual unity in yourself. Until then, stay strong, stay humble, and keep walking the road back to Eden. And as always, crusade with me.